Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie Williams. I'm a member of the Horrific Network team. And I'd like to welcome you to our second panel of the day for Sinister CyberCon. And the second panel will feature the wonderful, the beautiful, the talented Barbara Magnolfi, famous for her role as Olga in Suspiria,
Mhm.
and also famous for her wonderful work in the Giallo genre of films uh, that she has made in Italy. So I am just thrilled to be able to introduce you and to talk to you today, Barbara.
Hi.
Uh, Hi. This is kind of a different format. Have you done this before where you've been
Um,
interviewed online?
I actually did something, small, a
Uh-huh.
show in Italy, that was basically happening in Italy. And obviously I couldn't be there. So we did it this
Sure.
way. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't expect you to remember this, but we actually met briefly at the last Sinister Creature Con.
Mm-hmm. I,
I was a member of the panel team, but I don't expect you to remember. You made a bigger impression on me, I'm sure, than I made on you. But,
oh, thank you.
but what
No,
impressed?
I remember you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm thrilled about that. You made
Uh-huh.
my day.
Oh,
um,
thank you.
but what impressed me about you was I got a chance to observe you as you were sitting at your table and you were talking to the fans that came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so impressed with the kindness and the grace that you
Mm-hmm.
showed to the people you talked to. And it looked like you were just enjoying interacting with everybody that came by. And I know that the staff loved you and the fans loved you. And
Mm-hmm.
and so that brings me to my first question.
Yeah.
Being a person that likes to be involved with people, which you obviously are,
Mm-hmm.
how are you handling the social restrictions of the quarantine?
Mm.
What are you
Yeah,
doing?
you're right. Not not very well, but in a way, I'm dealing with it like everybody else. But it's
Yeah.
true. I'm a very social kind of animal. I love interacting with people. I'm Italian, right? So I
Yes,
love to
yes.
hug, and we hug, we kiss. And so for me, this is a very, in a way, it's just a big restriction
Yeah,
that, creates an immediate cut, if you wish, of communication with people. Because, hugging and kissing or, interacting or
yeah,
shaking hands is definitely a communication, right? So that has a
sure.
very turn offish effect.
Right.
But I managed to do it anyway when I walk around with my mask and and
Yeah.
I say hi to everybody. I try to um, you
From a
know
distance, right?
from a
From 6 feet
distance,
away. Yeah,
and I speak to
yeah.
my friends on the phone, and actually I've been up to a lot that I wasn't doing before, right at home.
Yeah,
Um, so it gave me some kind of time to complete things or to start things that I couldn't do before because of time and
sure,
or yeah. So
sure. So
I
you're
guess
surviving. You're surviving like
I'm
the rest of us.
surviving pretty
It's
well. I guess we're surviving, but
it,
obviously, I would like it to be over
yeah,
very soon. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I would too. I understand about the Italian hugging too, because my grandfather was Italian Swiss.
Oh,
So when he would get together with his Italian Swiss friends, a
hmm.
lot of drinking, hugging, and
All
laughing.
right.
So I understand that completely.
There you go.
You got involved in dance when you were like just a toddler. I mean, like 4 years old, you were taking ballet, and you developed quickly into a lead ballerina when you were 10. Were your
True.
parents were your parents creative people? Did they encourage you to get involved in the arts, or was this just something that, you know,
Uh,
little girls in Italy got involved in?
mm, um, you know, my parents they were separated. I was
Mhm.
living with my mother and my living nanny at the time in Rome, and my mother was some kind of artistic, but didn't pursue that. And I later on find out when I met my father that my father actually wanted to be an actor, and he was an
Wow.
amazing photographer, actually. But I didn't know at the time, right? So the way that
Yeah.
the dancing happened, because my mother was busy, whatever. She didn't want to, like a single mom, obviously, and she put me into a ballet class, right?
Uh-huh.
Into a ballet class, and I happened to love it. I think that was a
That's great.
blessing,
Yeah.
right? Particularly loved the fact that there was a live piano player, and I really got into this.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, uh,
Yeah, that's neat.
yeah. Um,
Um, well, I
so
want
that
to
was my time of creation and imagination, out of a
share.
not so great family situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did, do you think that your background in dance helped you get the role of Olga in Suspiria, or did it help you prepare for the role?
I think
Did,
my type of, I think definitely it had something to do for Dario Argento to call me in.
yeah.
Um, I think is also the type of body, the
Mhm.
dancer. I was
Sure.
quite an athlete, quite a,
Yes.
um, how do I put it? A dancer body. Uh,
Right. Right.
and I think that might have had something to do with it, with the role, because I was going to be the lead, sort of the ballerina that actually graduated already and
Yeah.
staying outside the school already.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was going to dance quite a bit in Suspiria and didn't get to dance,
Yeah. That
but I still got.
I
Yeah,
was
I
going to
think it might
follow
have
up.
something to do.
I was going to follow up with that because actually in Suspiria, for a movie that's
Hmm.
about a dance academy in Germany, there's very little dancing. So was
I
that
know.
um, so what I wanted to ask you also was that was your goal always to be an actress? Did did this develop out of your modeling and dancing pursuits, or did you always want to be an actress and get involved in film production?
Actually, acting definitely came first. Acting came to me very early, when I was watching I was kind of a loner.
Mhm.
Um, I watch when television, watch films.
Yeah,
Very young and so forth, I listen to music a lot. In fact, music also was a passion for me. But what happened at some point that I realized what I wanted to do was inspire people,
mm,
move people with, create an emotional impact in people in the way that these movies and these characters and this Anna Magnani movies, or the Italian greats, right,
yeah,
did. And I thought, oh, that's what I want to do. Combine with modeling. Modeling didn't come until my decision was already taken of acting. I was going to
okay,
be an acting, and I was going to help actually inspire people.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. And
and
I know,
yeah, that came from the sort of inspiration with the dancing and a combination of that of expressing myself through dance.
yeah. Well,
And
you
yeah,
created this unforgettable character of Olga in Suspiria,
thank
and well, it's just wonderful. She's mysterious, she's unforgettable. But
you.
I have heard you say before that there are a lot of people that misunderstand her role at the dance academy
Hmm.
and don't realize that she's actually one of the witches. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people sometimes don't make that connection that Olga is actually on not on the side of good?
I uh, that's how I read Olga. The first
Mhm.
the first time I read Olga in Dario Argento production office, uh, after he handed me this huge script, right? He said, "Take a
Yeah.
look at Olga." Okay, I take a look at Olga, and I read through Olga character, and to me, that's what she was.
Yeah.
From the beginning. That's what I
Yeah.
capture out of Olga. The cheeky, the mean, but in a childish way. And she basically catches the prey for the witches, which I am. And,
Yeah.
Dario used to call me his witchette in Italian, right? La mia streghina
Oh my
on
gosh.
the set. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
I
Um,
um, I don't know what people make of, the public seeing the movie, right? I don't
yeah.
know what they make of Olga, but
Yeah.
it couldn't
Well,
be
I'm
on the good side.
she's not
I,
on the good side, but
no.
there's something about her that people absolutely love because she's the character that if you ask, you know,
Mm,
most people who their favorite character is in Suspiria, most of them say Olga. So,
thank you.
you created a memorable character there. Argento, you were mentioned Dario Argento, and you obviously have a fondness for him. He's such a
Yes.
master of imagery. And in Suspiria, there are all these striking visuals. I know he kind of copied his visuals using the old Technicolor movies from the 40s and the 50s as kind of his model. So you get these
Hmm.
splashes of blue and red and green, and they kind of frame these dramatic scenes in the movie. Is
Hmm.
he because he's so visually oriented? Then
Hmm.
what is his approach to actors? How much direction does he give you, or does he allow you to develop the character yourself? Is he one of those directors that's hands-on and tells you every little step that you have to take, or does he allow you to take the character and make it your own?
Mm, he is a very different director. He, in a way, I believe, very organic. As you say, is very visually oriented and is a perfectionist. So what would happen is that everything has to look on set, including the characters and the actors and the costumes and the performance, as it is in his vision that he's putting out there.
Yeah.
If it isn't, start all over again, literally, and
Mhm.
get to that perfection. And that's how Suspiria was. So the way he was with at least with me,
Mhm.
he gave me a lot of freedom. In fact, from the beginning, I did sort of a one of a kind audition, if it was an audition, right? Meeting that we had. He asked me the first time, right, before I got the role, he asked me, "How do you see her?
Mm.
How do you see her?" To see if I had actually gotten Olga, right?
Sure.
And I told him I see her like this, like that, and I actually think he liked it. So he gave me that kind of freedom on the set as well, though I had to be perfect. That so what would happen
So,
usually before we started a scene, he would come in my dressing room and he would check out. We would have a little chat. Not much chat. It was more like checking, observing, what I looked like, if I was,
mhm.
And I remember this one time that we were shooting the scene in my apartment before I was going to go
Yeah.
on. And just before that, he came to my dressing room and I had that dress, with the net. And I was all dressed up, all ready to go. And he comes in, he takes a look at me, he looks at everything. He says, who did your makeup? And I'm like, well, the makeup did my makeup, right? Uh,
Sure.
and he said, is this how Olga does her makeup? Um, I didn't quite get it at first, right? He leaves. He says, do your makeup as Olga would do her
Ah,
makeup. So I took a few minutes. I was kind of like, what is he getting at? And I'm in front of the mirror and I look, and I kind of got into the character completely. I
wow.
was Olga. How does she put her makeup on? And I took my makeup and Olga, she's like outrageous. You know what I'm saying? Put
Yeah.
more lipstick on. I put more, he comes
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
He looks at me, thumbs up, let's go.
So he
You
gave
know?
you that little nudge, but you
Yeah,
took it and you created Olga.
I know.
That's great.
So
Um, when
that's how
you,
he directs,
yeah,
perfection to that
yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Hmm.
But it's nice that he allows you to do your job too, and to be, to take that character and become that character. I think that's great. When you
Yeah.
were when you were making Suspiria, you were in your early 20s, I think, right? Were you in your early
Yeah.
20s? And
Yeah.
did you have any idea that Suspiria would turn out to be the classic, not just a horror film, but the classic film that it's become, so that we would be talking about it over 40 years later? Did you have any inkling that that
Mm.
was what you were creating?
I tell you, no, I was surprised, and I thought this was magic. What
Oh,
happened
yeah.
with Suspiria?
Yeah.
The only inkling I could say I had, and is that we were doing, probably because of my situation at the time. I had done work before. I was an up and coming,
Mhm.
promising working actor, already
Sure.
successful. But when I got on the set of Suspiria, the first day, with John Bennett, Alida Valli, for me,
Lita
those were like
Valley.
Hollywood, Hollywood, without counting like even Jessica Harper, which I had already just seen her movie, right? The Phantom
Yeah.
of, yeah.
The
Um,
Paradise. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, um, I matched that. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, I matched those Hollywood legends to me, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I was in this set, and I'm like, oh, we're doing something very special. If it was
Yeah.
only from my point of view, right? I knew
Yeah.
I was doing something special, and I was going to bring in my very top best for this. I knew I could do it, right?
Oh,
And
you certainly achieved that.
thank you. Yeah, I think I'm proud of I'm proud of Olga, what I created, this character. Yeah. But it's also a co-creation with Dario and his genius. And, because somebody else maybe wouldn't have gotten the same
Yeah,
out of me. Right. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
That-
So I was pleasantly surprised later on when this keeps on going. It just keeps on going.
yeah. Yeah,
And
that well, I know that you're still in contact with Dario, that you've
yep.
stayed in contact with him.
Yeah.
And I heard rumors that you might do a project with him and something about a television series, or am I off base on that, or is the rumor
Mm,
have some
it's
fact behind it?
it's unfounded rumor yet, but we when we met at the Beyond Festival in the Egyptian Theater a couple of years ago. We were talking. We went for dinner. We were talking. We always do that. We go for dinner, and after the show, whatever that is, we did a wonderful panel, and it was really wonderful. It was
Yeah.
a standing room only. It was packed, packed, packed. It was an amazing event. But at that point, we talked uh, about we just threw it out there saying we really ought to do something again together, right?
Yeah.
We did such a good job on Suspiria. He always keeps saying that. He says that we really did a good job on Suspiria, right? And
Right.
it would be great to. We just threw it out there, and then I said, "I'd love to do that. Let's plan on that." And then he said, "Well, I have to find the thing. We have to find the thing that would be right, right?" And
Right, right.
I think why not do the thing, the series, right? That would be
Sure.
great. So
Sure.
I don't know. Now I don't think is anywhere close to start yet, right? But I've I think is in pre-production. It might be,
Wow.
but I don't know
Okay.
for sure. It's not official that I got. I would love to. I would love to.
Well,
I would love
we would
to.
love to see you work together
Yeah,
again. So we'll
I
be
would
waiting
love
for
to.
that one.
Yeah, that would be. I think that would be making the fans as well so happy because they'd
Sure.
be wanting to see more of us.
Sure.
More of That's what I get at least from the fans. Yeah,
Of course, of course. Now
yeah.
you're one of the most iconic actresses known for the Giallo genre. Did I say that right? Because
You did.
I did. Okay, I'm
You
thrilled about
did.
that. I'm thrilled about doing that. Now, to me, when I hear that it's a Giallo movie, I think of mystery and murder and
Hmm.
gore and horror, but all done in this highly stylized manner.
Hmm.
Um, is that how you would describe that kind of film? How do you describe the Giallo genre? Is that pretty much sound like it, or
No.
okay?
Um, no, I think that people, I mean, that's what Giallo has become after
Oh,
basically. But Giallo originated as crime novels, like Agatha Christie, mystery,
oh,
crime, where there would be an investigation and a detective uh, investigating the thing. There would be a dead body somewhere, and those were the elements of actually Giallo. It came from novels that were sold in um, a newsstand in Italy that had a yellow cover. And
mm.
that's why Giallo in Italian means yellow. And you would
I
buy
did read
those.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would buy those things, and they were like, crime uh, stories. Some of them were like Agatha Christie, like the kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah.
So
Um,
they were more traditional mysteries then
that's right. That's
than
right.
what they've become. They've
Yeah,
become a little more sensationalized than what they started out to be then.
yeah,
Is that
and
right? Yeah.
yeah, it became horror. I believe that Dario was one of the first one to bring,
The
and
horror.
with
Yeah.
Suspiria, because even him before he was doing a giallo genre, like l'uccello, l'uccello dalle piume di cristallo, the bird by the crystal plumage, and all
Yeah.
that. Those were not horror; they were giallo, more like. And
Right.
after Suspiria, with Suspiria, and with all the splatter and the killing, emphasized, the blood emphasized, and those primary color, pushed. I think Dario had a big contribution to creating the horror genre,
Hmm.
the giallo becoming horror.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about three of your most popular films in that genre. They were tremendous hits in Europe.
I'm gonna have some coffee.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
Okay.
This is your first, I think this is your first official film appearance. I think you did some walk-on work before, but in 1975, you starred in The Suspicious Death of a Minor
Hmm.
that was directed by another director who's famous for his uh, Giallo work,
Yeah,
Sergio Martino.
Sergio
And
Martino. Yeah.
and I think this was a story about a police officer investigating human trafficking.
Hmm. Hmm.
How was your first experience in a film where you actually had a role to play? What was your experience like in that film?
I was on cloud nine. I was so happy. I remembered like it was yesterday. I remember shooting in Milano, the way I got the role, the way everything was going at the time was amazing. Because from the my decision to actually be doing this, things were just happening. How do you
Yeah.
call it? Serendipity, happenstance, whatever, or just pure determination to get there. So I got that role by a friend of mine was staying with me, who is an actor in the movie, Roberto Posse. He was staying with me. He said, "Oh my God, I got to introduce you. This, I'm doing this movie soon. You'll be perfect." Blah, blah, blah. That's how Sergio Martino heard of me. And I had a meeting with Sergio and I got the role. And Sergio is one of the most underrated, he's
Hmm.
director. He is an amazing, accomplished with a body of work that is incredible. Giallo genre. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
exactly the Giallo genre. And I love, and he's a gentleman. I love working with uh, Sergio Martino. He made me feel like really, really at ease in a not so easy set,
Yeah.
because it wasn't easy.
Sure.
Uh, at first, I was like, uh, it went wonderful though. I mean,
That's great.
yeah, yeah.
So
But
your first experience was a great one, and that's
there
always
was
important.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
my first official experience. I
Right.
did one before. That was the experience that definitely set my mind
Oh,
for
good.
acting. They were at when I was 13 years old.
We have a question from
Yeah.
somebody who's watching on one of the platforms. This is
Yes.
from Brandon Gant, and he
Yeah.
wants to know if it was difficult working on an international production like Suspiria, where the actors may have been speaking their dialogue in many different languages. Is it tough to do that when
Uh,
when actors are speaking different languages for the dubbing later? Is that a
Uh-huh.
difficult thing?
Hi, Brandon. No, I don't recall it being difficult. I spoke English. The main, all the main leads spoke English. We spoke English. Stefania Casini, Jessica Harper, John Bennett, Alida Valli. We all spoke English. The people that didn't speak English were the minor, not so, roles.
Right.
And that was difficult, I'm sure, for the soundtrack, though, because we had accents, or, you know what I'm saying? I know the
Yeah.
dubbing was done completely. Everybody was dubbed on that movie, except I don't even know. Jessica Harper wasn't, she dubbed herself, but the whole sound stream was redone, also because there were noises and not. So, I mean, on set, it wasn't difficult because we're all tied by the same, the storyline when you're on
Sure.
a tight set. And then I think the communication that happens goes above even any language being spoken. You could say anything, but, if you get the intention across,
Right.
it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
So no, I don't recall it being a problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Another one of your films was The Sister of Ursula in
Mm.
1978, and that was directed by Enzo Milioni. Do I have that right? Enzo Milioni, I think.
Milioni, that's right. It
Okay.
means millions.
Anyway, there's this scene. There's a scene there where you're in a chapel of a hotel. It's about loosely the plot is about two sisters whose father commits suicide, or at least they think it's suicide, and they go away to a fancy seaside hotel. But there's a serial killer on the
Yeah,
loose in the community, as things would have it, and so
yeah,
you have to contend with that. So, but there's a scene in the chapel in the hotel where you pray to a faceless crucifix. And I've read reviews of that performance, and they say it was absolutely brilliant. Can
mm.
you tell me a little bit about shooting that scene? Because it seems to have made a real impression on those that have seen it.
Yeah. Um, by the way, I love that scene. Um, just because it's so uh, spiritual and
Mm-hmm.
mystic, and it would actually have a message in the times that we are right now. You know,
Yeah,
in the time
exactly.
that we are right now, that scene would apply.
Mm,
The message in that scene would apply.
yeah.
Uh, the character I play, I don't know if people have seen the movie or if I can say who I am in the movie. Uh, I'm sure I can, right?
I think so. Aren't you
Okay.
psychic? Are you psychic in this movie too?
Yeah, I'm a psychic,
Yeah.
and I have very highlighted, perceptions. I'm very
Mm.
perceptive, and I am also the serial killer. I become the
Oh
serial killer.
gosh. Spoiler.
I know. I have to say explain.
That's okay. That's all
But
right.
the way I get to that is because I have a close connection to my father, and I'm
Uh,
thinking my father suicided uh, because this woman that was a lover or so, abandoned him. I'm basically in my mind, I'm thinking my father was killed by uh, sex, people having,
mm,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it was a very interesting character. I had to actually spend a lot of time preparing for that character, which um, you know, I mean, it's a shame that what they did with the movie wasn't so good because they added a whole bunch of stuff when this movie originally wasn't like that, and then later on, which was happening a lot with a lot of films, and a lot of people got screwed with that, excuse my
Yeah.
language.
No, that's all right.
But what happened is they added the scenes and with sex, and I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they did that in a not legal way, basically, because I could have done something to stop that if I had known.
Yeah.
But originally the film was a psychological thriller. And that's what I prepared for. And that's
Right.
what, and I thought it was a great story. It was a giallo, and then it became some kind of a slash, whatever,
Yeah.
but that scene came from that perspective, right?
Right.
Where I got my calling in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was, I was a very tormented character, and but I love the character, and it's such a such a
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm glad that at least we saved that scene.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah,
that's an experience for sure.
yeah.
In 2018, you attended the premiere of the remake of Suspiria. I know the director intended it to be an homage rather than a remake,
Hmm.
even though it had the same name. And
Hmm.
the character of Olga has a completely different fate
Yeah.
in this film. What was your impression of the movie? I know it's a longer movie. It's like 50 minutes longer than the original. What was your impression of Suspiria 2018?
Well,
Little hesitation there.
well, let's see. I want to premise this by saying that I think Luca Guadagnino, who's my friend, by the way, um,
Very
uh,
talented director.
very, very talented director. I love his cinematography.
Mhm.
I love the color, the way what he did with Suspiria is a tribute to the three mothers, not just Suspiria. Um, Personally, I had a hard time sitting at the premiere,
Yeah.
and watching some of the things which I think were extreme and almost grotesque, that,
Hmm.
in my opinion, were not needed, right?
Right.
But that's his tribute, I don't think this was a remake whatsoever. This
Yeah.
was like his passion for Dario, and
Hmm.
this particular film of Dario that he had been wanting to do forever. He wanted to do this, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I wish him all the best with it. I don't think the movie did that great, actually, and I'm sorry for it. But
Right.
what I'm saying is, like, the cinematography was amazing.
Yes.
I think the cinematography was amazing. I don't like the choice of um, setting it the way, putting too much in it. It's almost putting too much in it because of wanting to do such a tribute. He ended
It
up
was
putting, yeah, too
it was
much.
almost too ambitious because
Yeah, exactly.
it was dealing with problems in Cold War,
Yeah, too much.
Germany, and yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and the time setting, exactly, and the
right,
characters were changed
right.
and characters were added. um I I don't
I
um
think I think the difference is that we're talking about Dario Argento's Suspiria 43 years later,
yeah.
but I don't think they're going to be talking about the 2018 film in 43 years. And that's not an insult because there's a lot of talent that goes
Mhm.
into making any kind of movie.
Yeah.
But it's just that you and the rest of the cast and Dario created this classic, all these elements coming together, and
Mhm.
a classic is a classic.
A
A great
classic is a
piece,
classic.
a great piece of art is a great piece of art, and that's certainly a great piece of art.
I agree with you. And the elements of a piece of art that is great are, there are several of those elements in Suspiria.
And
And
not to mention the colors.
yeah,
I go
no,
back to the colors because the colors are beautiful. They're
yeah,
striking. They're
yeah.
used dramatically. And then in the 2018 film, they just washed out the color
I
completely.
know. It was
Just took
like
it
almost
out completely.
uh, a suppression of that.
Yeah, yeah,
Doing exactly the opposite than what Suspiria was
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Even the
Exactly.
ending, the whole thing was like, Suspiria to me is like a dark fairy tale. It's like
Yes,
a rock opera,
exactly.
a dark rock opera. It's like a splash of, you know,
Uh-huh.
uh, colors and music, and it's
Right,
amazing.
right.
Suspiria is actually, it leads to a happy ending.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it does have a happy ending.
Right,
At
that
least,
has a happy
at
ending.
least for Susie.
Yes, exactly. But and for the rest, who doesn't, when you lift the witch, spirit,
Right,
but
right.
uh, at least she gets to her end of the investigation. Okay,
Yes. Yeah, right.
uh, and none of that is in.
No, no. And
No,
the even we're talking about all the different elements in the original, and
yeah.
the music of Goblin
Oh,
added
yeah.
added so much to it too, because immediately you're uncomfortable from the time the movie starts because you have this jarring, dramatic movie, and you just know it just puts you on edge right from
Right.
the very first frame of film. But
But yeah,
very effective.
very
You're
effective.
very effective. You're fluent in Italian and French and English. And
Yes.
I know that you've been doing a lot of voiceover work
Hmm.
lately. In fact,
Hmm.
I think, did you go to Italy to do some voiceover work recently, or did you do that long distance?
No, no, I did this here
Oh, okay.
I did this here in US. Yeah, for I can talk about it, but it's for a project. But I don't know if it's out yet, so I can
Sure.
talk about it. It's an American film. I dubbed a couple of, I did a couple of
Yeah,
roles in there. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, in
How,
Italian. In Italian.
compare the voiceover work with actually being on camera. Is the preparation completely different? Do you still memorize lines, or do you just read from the script and use the script as your guide? How is your preparation different?
Uh, to me, as an actor, on camera, in front of the camera, the preparation for the character would be the same before I go do the job,
Mhm.
would be the same. So I study my character, I prepare my character, whether later on I memorize the lines. I don't need to memorize the lines, particularly with the voiceover,
Mhm.
because I have it running
It's right
through,
there.
right? Yeah, with the teleprompter. But I don't like not. For me, memorizing the line doesn't go. I memorize the line. For me, the lines come naturally, easy once I have the character in.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my work, which is the preparatory work, right, uh,
Right.
doesn't change that much. Yeah. I guess I need to memorize less lines. I have the reference there. I could do it over and over and over, right? But it's actually in a way it's more difficult because you're dubbing someone else, so you got to be in sync with the person talking, um, with the
Sure.
mouth, and it presents different challenges.
This time has flown by.
Yeah,
I can't believe how quickly it's gone. I've enjoyed talking to you so much. You're such a delightful person.
thank you.
I know, and I do want to mention one more thing before we sign off, and that's that you're working now on your autobiography.
I am.
And I have seen some of the things that you've posted on Facebook
Hmm.
and some of the inspirational
Yes,
kinds of things that you're including in the book. And it's just beautiful. I mean,
thank
I
you
want
so
you to
much.
know how great uh, how great it sounds to hear somebody talk it and be concerned about other people and about how they live their lives and to incorporate that into their own life story. So I
Yeah,
wish you all the success in the world with that. And
thank
you
you.
know what? You're going to be there in Sacramento in October, hopefully, right?
I am. Not hopefully, I am. I'm coming no matter
All
what.
right. I, if it's okay with you,
Yes.
I'm going to come up and give you a big Italian hug. Is that
Oh,
okay?
yes. Yes.
All right.
I love that. I
All
love
right,
that.
Barbara.
Thank you so
Barbara,
much.
again, thank you so much.
Okay.
Really appreciate your being here today.
It was my pleasure.
Great.
Okay.
See you in October.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao.